Welcome to episode 6 of the Control Z podcast. I'm Zane Lamprey. In this show, if you are new to it, we offer guests the opportunity to go back in time and pick a moment or moments in their life where they would go back and give themselves advice. My thought in creating this was that, here's the thing, and I don't know if I'm starting to feel like this is just me, but I think I'm also learning how to talk to people about these situations. I think about this on a daily basis. Do you ever think about that?
I definitely have a lot of retrospection and if I would have just moved here, I really dragged my feet on this.
Right.
There's definitely certain things where I'm like, oh man, if I would have just shown up or hung out at the, when I think about my time in Chicago before I moved, I probably should have been at the Laugh Factory hanging a lot more, even though I was performing there.
Right.
Probably should have been kicking it there more, just being around and being a part of it instead of, sometimes I'm like, you were a curmudgeon. You should have been kicking it rather than oh.
So is this something that you've been thinking about because of this podcast, or did this just pop into your brain?
I think about it all the time.
Okay.
What should I have been doing? And it could be as easy as later that night, you're like, why didn't I just go to that thing?
Yeah.
So it's short term, but it's also I do think of a lot, should I have gone to college? Or, I do think a lot about those kind of, or should I jump back into it now? Try to, it is but can you catch lightning in a bottle like that later on? Because you spend a lot of time looking back, right? Kind of thinking, move should I have?
Yeah, because, and it's the other thing I think about is if you get someone in here who's successful or at the height of their career, are they going to want to go back and change things? Nitro, he's 60, right? He was on American Gladiators. He played professional football. He says he wishes that he worked harder. Bro, you worked pretty hard. You're good. You maxed out on where you were going with that. He obviously has some regrets and stuff like that, but he's kind of on the other side of the mountain. You know what I mean? He doesn't, he can look back and think oh, I'm glad I did that.
He doesn't have to make choices knowing this is what I'm going to be working with.
Right.
He's already knows what he is currently working with, and he's, in the cruise control with where he's at.
Yeah. He's starting to be, I don't think he's going to hear this, but he's kind of hitting to the sunset, right? Where he can kind of sit back and relax and be like, okay, I'm glad that I made those, but also regret. He had a heart attack and he has other situations as well. But for me, I'm also writing my book right now, and I've been writing my book for about 2.5 years.
A little tease for everybody.
It's a little tease. And anyone who reads it, whether it's my wife or my mom or my best friend, is going to read this and go, I did not know that. That is, I didn't know that. Both things that happened and also my perspective over things that have happened. And there's some things that I'm glad I did. But there's things that I wish I would have done. So if you are old and gray and you're starting to fade a little bit, maybe, someone who's in our nation's highest office, and you look back in life, and not him, but other people would say I wish I would have done these things. Not, I wish I would not have done these things, right? You don't look back at things and say, oh, I wish I didn't do these things, unless you did something horrible. More so, you're I wish I would have done that. I wish, for me, I wish I would have moved out to LA sooner. I wish I would have gone up to the comedy clubs and learned that skill, the trade, the profession of being a stand-up comedian. I saw people doing stand-up, and I was like, I couldn't just pop up on that stage and do that. Bro, nobody can. Nobody could. They're writing. They're working it out. They're just, the good ones make it seem like it's off the cuff. That's how that whole thing works, and the whole process. And now that I'm I've learned it, I'm glad that I'm in it now.
I think it, when I've been thinking a lot about the concept, it reminds me of this friend's joke who talks about finding love and being secure in it. It's kind of he describes it as finding a parking spot when you're going to the grocery store. Sure, you can find a spot, but once you leave and your car is parked, sure, you could see other spots, but you're not always going to want to run back and be well, I should move my car closer, right? It's you have to be solid in the choices you've made. I parked my car here. Sure. I'm not going to keep looking for a closer spot. I've parked my car. I'm moving on to the next phase.
I think that's the reality of the present, right? But if we're looking in the past and saying what would you go and do? What would you change? So look, I'm very happy with where I am, and writing my book, it makes me both proud of myself, for the hard work I put in, the luck that I got, the things that I did, and then the work I put towards certain things. And again, people will see that and understand it. But it also like makes me go like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done this differently. But you're only equipped with the information you have at that moment and your abilities to react to that situation. So, look, we do the best that we can.
It really makes me think. I love saying the phrase like, I don't know what I don't know. I think it's like so powerful to be aware of like your blind spots, and like, the farther out you are, you get more aware of those blind spots. So why not wanting
That's
to
for
take
sure.
advantage of
When
it?
I was young, I mean, college, I thought I knew everything. And literally the older I get, the more I realize I don't know. It's like I'm learning more, I know more, but the more I learn, the less I realize that I know. Speaking of that, it's a good transition into
Very professional.
yes. Well, first off, I'm always on the road. If you want to come to one of my shows, please come to one of my shows. If you've seen it before, it is always changing. It's always evolving. Right now, we're in like the 4th iteration of a show. Every time I lock in an hour and I feel like it's where it needs to be, and I just kind of beat it down and get it as tight as I can, I record it as a special. I've done that 3 times, and now I'm out there working on new stuff, and I'm enjoying it. And I feel, especially when I go back and watch my first special on Amazon, like we kind of looked at some that reviews the other day. I'm like, I've come a long way. I've come a long way, and I hope that anyone that's come and seen me before can come and see that differences. Look, you'll always have fun. Somebody asked me the other day, like, hey, have you ever had a bad show? And I was like, not since the first 30 or 40. No, now I know how to do this, and now everyone has fun. And so, yeah, I'm on the road. I can sit here and read these to you, but I won't waste your time. I will tell you, though, that if you either are in the Chicago area or you want to be in the Chicago area, on Saturday, September 21st, I am going there to have my Zane-toberfest party. And I'll tell you an interesting piece of information about a Zane-toberfest party that I had in New York City. That is where I met my wife. And so there's a chance if you come to one of these shows that I will make sweet love to you.
Don't let that deter you as well. Yeah,
You don't have to.
he might not. So
You don't have to, yeah. Our guest today is Jay Washington, a comedian who, it's funny because I went to your show the other day at the what's it called?
Haha Cafe.
Haha Cafe. And they're like, you've seen him around town. And that's definitely the situation with Jay. Like, you've seen this guy. If you've been to comedy clubs in LA or even New York or even Chicago, then you would know Jay. He started off as a professional wrestler and then became a stand-up comedian. And I'll leave it at this. At one point, he lived in his car. Like, you hear that about people, and I've met people that have done that. There's a guy that has a production company called like Trooper Films or whatever it was, and I had a deal with him. And I said, why'd you call it Trooper? He's like, because when I moved out here, I lived in my Isuzu Trooper. No one knew that. No one, but it's like for him to remind himself where he came from.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that Jay opens up. And then we got Potato right here, the cat, who I'm not gonna say he heckled Jay, but he did get roasted.
You guys do justice.
He got his due justice. This is Jay Washington.
Here's this. Mine. So I only have my commercial theatrical agent. I work.
Those are ones that with commercial agents.
Yeah, she's my commercial and theatrical. She's both.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I've been with her since I've been out here. Like, we've been a partnership. I told her the only way I'm never leaving her is until one of the big ones snatch me up.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way I'm leaving her.
The only time I'm leaving you as an agent is if I get something better than you.
And she told me, she was like, if one of them comes along, I'm pushing you off.
Yeah, right.
So we have that understanding.
Okay.
But like, as far as comedy, it's all me.
Yeah.
Everything has been me. So I've tried different managers and like comedy managers and stuff, and they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I just literally fired this one guy I was just working with for a short time. I was like, listen, we had this discussion. You asked what did I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I told you everything I wanted to do. I had my plans. I had everything laid out.
Yeah.
The Netflix is a Joke Fest happens. I do the show. I headline the show. He was like, well, I want to reach out and see what you want to do after Netflix. I already told you. So why are we revisiting this? You know what? We're good.
How'd you get the Netflix as a joke?
Just my own work.
Okay.
Legitimate.
What does that mean?
So just busting my ass consistently, going out. I'm out every night, and I've been now more selective with the comedy festivals I try to do. Because I've been doing this now. This is my 15th year.
Yeah.
So
this is your 15th year out. By the way, we already started.
No.
So it's your 15th year in stand-up.
Stand-up, yeah.
You moved out to L.A. from Chicago 9 years ago.
Yes.
And you are out at the clubs. What clubs are you doing in L.A.?
Improv, Laugh Factory, the store. I'm in development at the store, whatever that means. You know.
What does that mean?
So development is basically the process before you become a paid regular. You know, Missy used to have this thing, from what I'm told, of she wants to develop talent. And help grow them and stuff, which is nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I'm of the mindset of I'm already a talent. I'm already developed. Mm-hmm. Just give me a spot.
Yeah.
Let me have a spot to
let me show you.
Let me show you. And so, you know, I know how the game goes out here. Mm-hmm. I've learned a lot in a short amount of time. So I'm still doing that. But I did the Big Sky Comedy Festival last year in Montana. Was it last year?
How'd you get that?
Submitted.
Okay.
Submitted myself. And
did they fly you out?
No, you have to fly yourself out. But they put you up with everything else.
I love this whole comedy thing. I don't know about that one, but a lot of times with comedy, it's a privilege for you to come to perform.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, of course.
And that we're not going to pay you. The payment is the exposure.
The exposure. Like, okay. My bills don't get paid.
Yeah, let me call the bank. I got exposure. Okay, we're good. Okay,
we're good.
Cool.
You take this exposure credit I got a whole bunch of it.
That's right.
But I did Montana, and I was the runner-up. It was so they only picked 20 people.
Okay.
I was the runner-up of the fest.
Okay.
But a couple of the industry people who were there were like, Jay should have won it. So because of that, the word got around to the people who were booking the Netflix fest.
How did I hear about this? When was that?
What, Big Sky?
Yeah.
It was they're doing submissions now.
Right.
But it was in September of last year.
Okay. I think Tyler was telling me about that.
Yeah.
Tyler talks about you every day.
Appreciate it, Tyler.
It's a little weird. I don't know if that's the kind of fan that you want.
No, it depends on how he talks about me.
I can't.
You can't
off air.
Off air, we'll talk about it. Okay, now that's when it gets weird. When you got to go, we'll talk off air.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the best.
I don't know if this is. But no, it was. So that was the thing in November. Okay. And like I said, the work, because everyone who knows me knows I'm always out. I'm always working. Mm-hmm. I don't subscribe so much to the way the industry has changed. It's not about funny anymore, even though I know it isn't. We know this industry.
What's that theory?
So the as comedy now, if you haven't noticed, it's not about who's funny.
Okay.
To be on top. I don't subscribe to that as much. I'm still going to be funny. I'm still going to elevate what I do.
Right.
You know, I understand it's about the social media numbers. I understand.
So that's what you think it is. It's the pecking order now is about who you are versus how good you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I remember they did a town hall at the Improv in Hollywood, and I happened to go. I'm real cool with...
A town hall with just comedians?
It was the comedians to talk to the booker, the EVP of the Improv, and I forgot who else was there. But this was so to answer a lot of questions.
Okay.
Because a lot of newer comics were asking about how to get in an improv.
It sounds like it could have gotten contentious, but it wasn't? It was like peaceful?
It was actually peaceful.
Okay.
Now, when
by the way, you have to, otherwise you're not going to get booked.
You're not going to get booked.
So.
But some of the newer comics did bring up some issues. And again, I was there and I talked to the booker, who I'm real close with. And she was like, you don't need to be here. This is for newer comics. I said, well, hell, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I just want to listen and, absorb whatever I can.
It's so funny, sorry, that you said newer comics were the ones that had some issues. Like, yeah. Dude, shut up.
I have that discussion all the time. I'm like, yo, you're 3-4 years in. Calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. You don't have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You are not a headliner. You are technically nobody. You are going to be somebody if you stay in this game, but calm down. Right?
And if you just shut up,
if you just
do the things on stage, what are you talking about?
Shut up. They don't do that. But I remember the EVP of the Improv, Erin, she said this. She was like, I know a lot of people have a lot of problem with the fact that the Improvs book a lot of TikTokers.
Okay.
She said, but the problem is at this point, it's a business. They fill seats. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have to be funny. They fill the seats. And so that's where that new pecking order comes in now. I had an agent for one of the big agencies I was kind of working with for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we were working, and she got me a couple of things. And then she got moved to the head of comedy for the department for the agency she was working with. And she was like, well, I don't have the bandwidth to work with you anymore because you don't right now. I'm like, all right, fine. She was like, also, you don't have the TikTok numbers. I was in my head on the phone like, are you kidding me? Because why is my talent connected to a numerical metric?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I might not have this number you look for, this magical number, But I promise you, on the stage, you'll be like, oh, damn, I'm going to have better than that person. You more than likely held up to that maximum number.
If someone's got the numbers and you give them a shot, right? You give them a shot. Maybe they didn't do well. You give them 2 shots. If they're backing it up on stage, that's one
That's
thing.
a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole... Look,
If that's your in, great. But you have to be...
I know... Now, I know...
entertaining.
I know some comics who have the numbers, who have mastered social media success, who back it up on stage, and I have nothing but legit love for them. I'll even say Trevor Wallace, Ken Flores, even Matt Rife, because I was in these trenches with Rife.
Mm-hmm.
So I've watched what they've done to where they've crossed.
Those are names that can back up with it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those are the names for that can back it up.
Mm-hmm.
But you have these other ones who pop off a clip,
Yeah.
and then a clip, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so when I was having that discussion with her, and I'm like, well, why is my talent connected to this number, this arbitrary number? It doesn't reflect on who I am on stage and what I can do on stage. Okay, says you feel that way. I get it. I know the business. I have a business degree. I'm not going to be upset as I want to be. Cool. I know what to do. I'm going to keep busting my ass and become damn near undeniable on stage.
Okay.
To the point where now people who book me are like, oh, we should have booked him a while ago. Yeah, I told you.
That's all. Yeah. But
I told you.
That's what you do, right?
But that's just what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the thing with this industry. So that's when I go back to the whole funny isn't the number one metric anymore for stand-up comedy. You know, you've been doing it a while. You've been many places.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and I get that. And so you get both sides of it.
Yes.
These guys are selling tickets. It's a business. If this person has a lot of followers and they're going to sell tickets, then I'm going to bring them in. But that just has to be a component. You know, it's an ever changing business.
Of course.
You know, and I like to think, and no, I do think, to the point where I know that if someone's funny, if they're funny, you know, if they're good on stage, then they will rise.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But you have friends, I'm sure, that started off with you and you thought they were good, and then you're just like, where the fuck did they go?
Oh,
yeah.
I have a bunch of people I started. People I started with in Chicago. People I've watched since I've come out here. They just, you know, get tired of it.
Yeah.
You know, the grind, as they call it, is not for everybody.
And that's my question for you. I said like I had one big question, but like as you were saying this, you say you're there every night. That is a grind. You know what I mean? And what does that consist of? When do you go up there?
So literally, if my my schedule is a day-to-day, full day working on building and getting people to know who Jay is. Plain and simple.
Great.
From the moment I wake up, all right, let me go hit the gym for an hour and a half, whatever, get that cleared out the way. Then it's on my computer when I get home. It's sending emails out, cutting up clips at the same time, because that's a part of the game. That's social media. So I'm my own social media manager, so I'm cutting up clips. I'm sending emails to clubs, one-nighters, whoever, doing all that. Then if I have a show, all right, where am I at? Cool, do the show. But then even after the show, which club can I go to either just show face or try to get up on stage? Where I can go to the Improv, and if it's one of the regular shows and somebody's late or not there, because I'm a regular, Jay, you want to go up? Cool, fine, keep working. But if I don't go up, I need people to see me. Hey, he's still out here. So it's every day.
Top of mind.
Top of mind, because out of sight, out of mind. So every night it's that.
Yeah.
And it's some nights where I've had 3 or 4 spots, which, as we know in LA, is a rarity.
Yeah.
And also in LA, or can be spread out, which they have been. And I'll have the 3 spots, but then I'll say, all right, cool, I still got to end up at the store. I still got to end up at the Improv. I still got to end up at the Laugh Factory, just to consistently show face.
And those are pretty much, I mean, those are the 3 places.
Those are the 3 top ones.
And what about any of these other mics popping up around and whatever?
I mean, I'll go to like the different local. I'll be at the Ice House.
Sure.
So, but as far as the mics,
The Ice House is just a hall, you know, to get there.
Yes, I was just there last week. But it's like the mics themselves, I don't do, because they're all these pay-to-play open mics now. You know, they're all these slotted open mics. So which means,
So for people who don't know, that's kind of like, it's kind of, they're bringers, right?
they're bringer mics.
Yeah.
And it's only just the comics paying for the $5 for 5 minutes. So it's a room full of comedians just waiting to go up.
Yeah. Not giving you their full attention because they're thinking about their set.
They're thinking about their set.
Yeah.
Whereas in Chicago, I always say this. I love the mics in Chicago where you didn't have to pay for them. You sign up, you go up. But there would 9 times out of 10 be a regular crowd there.
Right.
So people be listening. So even if it's 5 people in that room, that's my audience.
Yeah.
And like now, when I go home to visit or do shows, if I have some time, I'll still go hit a mic.
Yeah.
Because I know I can work out something solidly there. And so, hey, how are you?
That's Pumpkin.
Hey, Pumpkin, just don't knock down the cup. That's all look, we good, Pumpkin, as long as you don't knock that down. But it's just constantly doing that.
Yeah.
Constantly being out, constantly being seen. And some people are like, yo, I know you got to be tired and exhausted. You're just go, 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 go. Yep. Pumpkin's like, so I'm just going to chill?
I mean, he's the most social cat. You know, like Tito Ortiz?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Tito Ortiz is here. He's promoting a fight. He shows up. He's in great shape. He's wearing, I haven't bought a suit in a long time.
Okay.
He's wearing what I think is probably a several $1,000 suit. And he's sitting there. He's got his limo outside, his Escalade, just waiting.
Yeah.
He's doing the podcast. Very, very, very nice guy. He's great. Yeah. And he's got a Trump hat on. He's kind of, you're trying to figure the guy out. Like Mexican-American, Trump hat, whatever.
This is all that,
And so Pumpkin walks in. And I just assume he's not a cat guy. And he's like, oh, look at this cat. Pumpkin jumps up on his pants and is sitting on his lap, sleeping. And he's like petting the cat. I'm like, all right, Tito, I can't figure you out, man. I don't know. I know. You're Mexican American. You're Trump. You got this expensive suit. You beat up people for a living.
And now you just pay the cat like Dr. Evil. You pay the cat like Dr. Evil. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right. So my question for you now is the exercise of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So Control Z.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit the undo button, or I've opened this up because I'm finding people want to go back and say, no, here's something I want to make sure that I did.
Yeah.
So you can go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you? What are you doing? And what are you saying to yourself?
I'm 13.
Okay.
I am the nerd, the little geek who gets made fun of and gets tired of it and thinks I need to stop being so much into these cartoons and anime and everything else, and I'll just focus on maybe pro wrestling.
So that's what's going on in your head as a 13-year-old.
Because I've started. You start to get teased. I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the 80s and 90s, where you have the culture shifting. This is before being a nerd at a young age is cool and acceptable.
Yeah.
I even joke about it on stage. I was a nerd before it was popular.
Yeah.
I was a nerd before everybody was like, oh, yeah, I'm wearing Dragon Ball Z shirts and all this, that, and the third. I think the cat got something to say on the microphone. I mean, they got something.
Sorry.
No, they got something to say. Let them say.
Well, okay, this is Potato.
Potato, if you got something to say, you know what? I'm not gonna interrupt you.
We got Potato Pumpkin on the deck.
Yeah.
And I would like you to think possibly, oh, the guy's got 2 cats. That's not the situation, and we'll find out how it develops as it goes along.
Oh, my God. Give me more. Because they were like, yo, it's guests. So we offered to come in. But because of that, I stopped, and I got tired of being teased things. So I tried, I just focused on like in pro wrestling.
Okay.
And so from there, just trying to be somebody else, trying to fit in, I would tell myself, don't worry about that. I would have told 13-year-old me, don't worry about that. Dig deeper. Because if I would have known then what I know now, how being a nerd can pay my bills in many cases.
Yeah, right.
Being a nerd has afforded me a lot of opportunities. It's getting me brought out to different Comic-Cons and amassed a fan base. I used to always say this when Vine came out. I was one of those people that was trying to be so diehard to the core, just stand-up comedy.
Okay.
Right? This is what I'm going to do at the time. I don't want to be famous because of the internet. Who knew that me being a nerd was going to make people know me?
All right.
I've done shows and people are like, oh, you're Jay Washington for Collider. You're Jay Washington from New Rock Stars, all this. And these are all nerd networks. And so, yeah, I visit stuff now. I revisit stuff, and I'm openly just about being my nerd. But if I could go back to that as that kid, because I know a lot of kids I grew up with who we talked about it, but it was one of those things almost you talked about in secret.
Yeah.
You weren't an open nerd.
Yeah.
I'd let myself be who I was and who I am now. Yeah. Because it would never, it would probably just change life even better than what it is.
That's one of the issues of like being that age. This is a very specific age. Let's just go like 13, 14, especially as a boy. And you have an idea of who you are. You really are starting to understand who you are, but you're questioning that. So for me, I was very much into to like nature and stuff like that, right? But none of my friends were, and nobody else. I didn't know anybody else who was into that kind of thing. I love animals. I like photography, and I would have loved to like done something with that. But I was just like, but I also had to try to be cool, and which, by the way, which being inauthentic, you know, is kids have this special sense where they can pick up on that.
Yes.
And if you're not being who you are, they're gonna tear you apart.
Dude, I used to read, my grandmother, I'll never forget, my grandmother, God rest her soul, there used to come out 2 different encyclopedia sets. I would make sure she bought me every new edition, so I had...
World Book or Britannica?
I don't even know if it was World Book or Britannica. No, it was a different, because I remember, this is how far back I go, Jewel Osco in Chicago I forgot what company it was, but they had 2 different sets. They had the small paperback, and then there was a hardbound version, 2 different versions, and I liked reading those.
Yeah.
And I would make sure I had those.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sitting on my porch in the summer reading an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
And a comic book.
So I was sitting there reading a bird book.
You see what I'm saying?
It's just a book with birds in it.
It's just a book of birds. And so, but people, you know, you're doing this to yourself while you write yourself, so nobody can see it. Because you're ashamed, but this is what you like.
But what if you approached it with such confidence that people couldn't shut you down?
I wish I would have had that thing.
It's tough, man.
Well, I know for me it was even tougher because I was burned on the side of my head and my shoulder when I was 2. I pulled a pot of boiling water, hot water off the stove, and because of that, my burn was massive on my head and my shoulder, and I was always teased and picked about it. And so from an early age, it shot down my confidence and self-esteem. So imagine being a kid already getting that, and kids themselves are already terrible when they tease you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have that happening, and then you're getting teased for the thing you like. So you're not going to be outwardly like, yeah, I'm a nerd. I love all this. You're like, I'm going to catch more hell from everybody else.
So then did you start like hitting the weights and stuff too?
No, I didn't hit the weights until I started hitting around junior year of high school, but I didn't really hit them until I became a professional wrestler.
Got it. Which was when?
I turned 20 when I first started training.
Okay.
When I first started training, I was like, oh, well, I got to be in the gym and I got to get all these. I didn't have money to get the juice, to get the gas, to get the I was like, whatever GNC has.
Yeah.
So I got to get all this stuff. And
so when you were doing that, you were doing wrestling in Chicago. You're 20, you're starting off doing it. And there were natural guys and there was unnatural guys.
Oh, of course, dude. I remember, growing up seeing the guys I saw on TV from WCW, WCCW, AWA, NWA, WWF at the time. You see those guys, those larger-than-life dudes. You're like, those can't exist in the real world.
Sure.
And then you start learning and training the pro wrestling. You start realizing there's an independent wrestling scene. And you see guys that are just like those guys who never made it.
Right.
And you're like, oh, there's no way you can get like this just me.
But they still paid the money and put in the work and all this stuff. And then here they are, like, not able to capitalize, probably not even getting paid the amount that they've spent on their bodies.
Dude, I know people, I know guys that were, at the time, this was like 20 years ago, they were built like Greek gods, had the physique, had everything, but were making $40, $50 in a gymnasium on a Saturday, like I was, going back to being a broker or being a bouncer. Yeah. They never got to elevate. Yeah. Because everybody can't make it to these companies. It's just the same with any pro athlete going to football, basketball, baseball, etc. Everybody's not going to make it. So you see that, and again, the dedication for it. It's even similar with stand-up. We've seen this. People who bust their asses night in, night out. Some people that are hilarious never get the opportunities. So it happens in every single profession. It never fails. Some of the best actors in the world are people we'll never see on TV and film because they never get the opportunity.
Now, I was thinking about that. That's an issue with, like, because a buddy of mine, he's an actor, and he also is like directing and stuff like that. And so now he's like 40, and he's like, we were talking about his path, and I was like, here's the thing about you directing and producing. Like, you can go and make things happen, right? You're creating your path. You can do that as an actor, but I've been in this situation where I was hosting for a while when that was a thing, right? So I had a few shows, cable shows, 3 sheets and Drinking Made Easy, like very upper channel, like channel 1,312.
Look, I'm on a show on the Always Funny channel right now called Animal Laws. Okay. I need a show for Vendemon. Listen, you won't get an argument from me at all.
I went and auditioned. So now my agent's like, okay, you're a host. Let's get you out. And so I was in 1 year. It was between me and Joe Rogan, me and Chris Kattan, me and Ben Bailey. You know Ben Bailey from Cash Cab, and then me and John O'Hurley, who it was.
I know their name.
Jay Peterman. He was Elaine's boss on Seinfeld.
Yes.
Elaine. You know.
Yeah, he ended up doing what show did he host?
Yeah, he did a show for a minute.
Yeah, 'cause I can't remember.
So there was 3. Like they call them shiny floor, big budget game show things that they piloted and whatever. And it was between me and those people in 1 year. And it was every network: ABC, CBS, NBC. You know those networks.
Those big 3. Yeah.
And I was runner up. And you know what you get for runner up? Nothing. No recognition. Nothing. And so I'm thinking about like the whole thing with like the comedy and the wrestling, how the crossover, because you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about like the wrestling is like, it's not just the physique or even necessarily the athletic ability. It's the persona and the charisma, the character, the person that you bring to it.
Yeah.
And not a lot of those guys are like, okay, I'm making a weird analogy. I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole, but I'll come back in a second. Like, I was thinking about a buddy of mine who's like amazing on the piano, right? And he's a great singer. And he's very, very handsome. He's an actor. And I was like, I wanted to ask him this question when he was on the podcast. I was like, why are you so good at the piano if you're handsome? Because it wasn't like, it's like, because like you didn't need to.
You don't need any. Yeah,
you don't need that, bro. You're getting late.
You're good.
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of times if there's a wrestler and he's the package, and you look at this guy, I'm like, dude, this guy's going to go all the way. But he doesn't have the personality because he never had to develop the personality. Yep. That's why people like Cena or The Rock or all these people are these enigmas, because how do you have this? How did you develop your personality? How did you develop your sense of humor if you had the package? Because the people that are funny, like you and I, you more so than me, had these childhoods,
yes,
where we worked through things with humor.
Yep.
And that's where we developed it. We didn't develop our stand-up. We developed our timing, our charisma, and all these things that we bring to the stage.
You'd be surprised in pro wrestling. So there's 2 different types. There's the baby face, the good guy, and heel, the bad guy.
Okay.
So again, your job as a baby face is to make the people love you.
Okay.
The heel to make people hate you.
Okay.
I watch people who have 0 charisma as a heel make people not even care to hate them.
Okay.
You have to have that innate ability, or you have to. If you don't have it there, you have to study to figure it out, to find something that switches. Like I've seen people go away to try to find themselves and come back and be repackaged.
Interesting.
But same thing happens with stand-up.
Yeah.
That's why I tell everybody, for me personally, the reason I feel I've been able to mitigate these 2 businesses so well, because they parallel each other. They're the same thing.
They are.
They're the same thing. And so I've watched, you have to be the baby face or the heel on stage. If you're going to be the bad guy, case in point, I'll use, and I don't say bad guy as like just the evil person, use an Anthony Jeselnik.
Okay.
Jeselnik can go as dark as he wants to go. People know it.
Right.
And they expect it.
Right.
But they love it.
Right.
They love that bad guy. There are heels in wrestling that you love to see them beat somebody up, but you love even more to see them get beat up. You have the good guys, the sweethearts that you always see. If anything happens to them in the wrestling ring, you're like, oh no, who's going to save them? And when they win something, you're elated like you just won.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so you have those.
You have to sell that. You have to create that.
You have to sell that.
Yeah.
And not only are you selling, and here's the biggest thing too with professional wrestling and even indie wrestling to some extent, you're not selling just to the people in that arena with you. Look, I've done shows, I've wrestled in front of 30, 300 to 3,000 people. I've done stand-up shows in front of 3, 30, 300 people. Not 3,000, 1,800. But you have to perform the same way.
Right.
So now those people in the audience, but the difference is also sometimes you have to get those people through the camera. You have to be able to make that energy pulsate through that lens to reach that person sitting there watching you on the TV. Once you're able to do that, that is how you get a John Cena. That is how you get a Rock. That is how you get a Stone Cold Steve Austin, a Shawn Michaels, a Hulk Hogan, a Macho Man Randy Savage, to a lesser extent, a batshit crazy Ultimate Warrior. But that's how you get that. You're able to take that charisma and have it transcend being in the present state and go through a camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where everybody's like, I'm that person. You have comedians. We watch the greats now. Whoever you consider a great comedian, you watch them and you watch it, and whatever they're saying on TV, that TV comes through. If you're listening to them, whatever comes to that speaker, it gets to you.
Yeah.
It transcends. It's not just what happens in the room, it's what happens outside the room. Now, granted, sometimes we're doing our thing we want the room to laugh, because we need, also as comedians, we need that validation. Anybody that says comedians don't need validation is batshit.
Who would say that? Like a comedian would say that.
Yeah,
I don't need the validation. Okay, then don't come tonight. Don't be here.
But we need and want that validation.
Sure.
And so when they're in that room laughing. But then if we put an album out, if we put a special out in the video and to see the comments, granted, we know we're going to get people who are going to hate regardless. That's going to happen. But the amount of people that love us more, the validation that we need, that we crave, that we desire.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so you started wrestling when you were 20.
Yes.
What do you go back and tell that dude?
Oh, push a little bit. No, I'm not telling that, because if I tell him push a little bit harder, he's not here right now.
And by the way, trust that he'll take that. Whatever you say, he'll take it. Yeah.
No, and that's why I said that.
Yeah.
Because if I told 20-year-old me when he starts pro wrestling, push a little bit harder, push a little bit more. He doesn't sit here as a comic probably right now, because he doesn't say, you know what? He doesn't have he has the next situation that happens. So I end up having some next stuff, just following him the next couple times. And it wasn't major, but it made me pull back from wrestling. In that time, I got kind of discovered on Facebook that I was cracking jokes. It's like, yo, you should try to do stand-up. That door opened. If I'm pushing a little harder, I don't entertain the stand-up avenue.
No. I'm a wrestler.
I'm a wrestler.
Yeah, I kind of.
Nah, I don't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not here doing that. I'm probably my age now, sitting there, I'm like, hold on, my knees hurt even more. I got natural knee problems. I'm probably like, oh, give me a second.
Yeah.
I got to go get on the road and make this $250 in the middle of Alabama. Things like that. So I think I tell me, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Just enhance. Look, that character you have, just look in you.
Okay.
Don't worry about the character. Look about the inside person, who's the character is based off of. And because the thing is, if I'd have told myself that earlier, I would have done more, and then I would have been able to take to stand up a whole lot quicker.
Are you a good guy or a bad guy?
It depends, but I love being a bad guy.
Yeah.
So here's a funny story that I had stopped wrestling at one point because of my neck thing. Wasn't major. I just had to have a little physical therapy stuff that my chiropractor told me, because thank God for a chiropractor. A lot of people got to learn about chiropractic. But at one point, I started doing stand-up, and that started to have a little bit of momentum, but I would go back into wrestling. And I remember being at a show. I will never forget this. I was in Oak Forest, Illinois for Elite Pro Wrestling. We were doing a match, and during the match, at one point, somebody must have known that I also was doing stand-up. So my wrestling name at the time was Trauma. I remember somebody yelled out the crowd, "Hey, Trauma, go tell a joke." And people went, "Ooh." So I stopped because I was the bad guy at the time. I was beating up on the person. I stopped and said, "The joke is you survived the abortion," and went back to whooping his.
You had that in your pocket?
It was just already the joke just came out.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, yo. We were doing one program for, I was Windy City Pro Wrestling, and they were setting up this big program for their big yearly show that was like WrestleMania. It's called Battle of the Belts. And I was in this faction called The Cure. There was the Union, which was run by the owner of the company, who was like a Vince McMahon type guy, was really the owner of another group. And he was yelling on the mic and doing all these things, and he never wanted to let me talk. And at one point, I just snatched the mic up from him and said, "Shut up before you have a stroke." And I just proceeded to go in on everybody. I watched a couple of the guys try to hold their laughter in. And then we got to the back, everybody's like, "Where'd that come from?"
Yeah.
I said, "Y'all never gave me the mic."
Yeah.
Y'all never gave me the mic. So I've always been more so the bad guy, but my mouth will make people laugh.
Right.
So I'm always like what you consider like they call them a tweener. They're between a heel and a face.
Because you're diffusing the tension.
I can diffuse it, but I also know how to go. I go for the jugular when I want to insult somebody.
Yeah.
Like I've done shows. The last show I did was in July of last year. And I typically do it every year when they ask me to do it because it's a charity for a special needs event. And I love doing it. And, you know, all the people that are there, they have such fun. And I have to remind myself, this is a special needs crowd, Jay. You can't go hard on them like you would someone else. So I remember I was doing something, I got thrown out the ring, and some dude was like, boo, that's what you deserve. And I almost said, you deserve to be pushed into traffic. And I caught myself. I was like, yo, I can't say this. I had to catch myself real quick. Was like, this is a special needs crowd.
Can you imagine if you said it?
You deserve to be pushed. I'm like, whoa. Caught myself.
So did you say anything?
I was like, oh, and I just pulled myself back. My brain was probably just did the whole like I'm punching.
Oh shit!
Because you know they like to play with that.
Yeah.
But man, I've had to catch myself.
Yeah.
And so you know that's just the sharpness of me. Like yo, I'm gonna be this bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm going for the. You want me to be the bad guy? I'm gonna be the bad guy.
Yeah, right. I like it. I like that. There's you remove the fourth wall, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the audience jumps in, you know, especially if they can hear you, if other people can hear you.
I told people all the time. Everybody always asks me like, how would you describe your wrestling character? I say a very amped up version of me in real life.
Okay.
Like again, if I'm
Good. It's authentic.
It's authentic.
Yeah.
If I'm at a show as a stand-up show and you're trying to heckle, I have a rule of 3. I always tell people, like if somebody heckles me, first thing I tell them, you know, don't do that. Let's enjoy the show.
Yeah.
The second time, I always say this: you can either enjoy the show or be the show. If you decide to be the show, you're not gonna like the show. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And the third time they do it, I say, I'm telling you right now, the next thing you say, I'm gonna talk about you with every letter of the alphabet from A to Z, and I promise I will not stop.
Yeah.
Some people learn. I've had 3 different instances where people thought it was a game. One dude I will never forget, I was in Oswego, Illinois when I first started doing it. I got to the letter M, and he was ready to fight. I said, let him go. This is what he wanted.
Yeah.
I did a show in Lawndale, California out here. Got to the letter I, dude was ready to fight. I was like, I don't think...
But you keep, while you're doing that, do you keep the audience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm just saying, like, the ABC, whatever A word, B word, whatever I'm saying, is some random word that's popping in my head at the moment. It's not anything...
Let's say Potato right here on the desk. He says something not nice to you.
Yeah, and I got to get to the end of Potato.
Okay.
Potato, I'm so sorry. Little alabaster-ass cat, old black ball-ass cat, old Caucasian chalk face. Like, I'll keep going.
Dude, you went a little too...
See? But that's how I'm saying.
That's a little too far.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, Potato. It wasn't on me. It was on Zane.
Well, he started it. Yeah.
So he started. So, but you see what I'm saying? So that's what'll happen. And that's why I apologize to Potato in advance.
Did you call him Caucasian?
A Caucasian cult. That's exactly what I called. That's exactly what I did.
He's not happy.
He's like, I ain't doing
Wow, whoa! Did you call me a Caucasian? What the fuck? He's not even wake up.
I'm a color. Don't you see this?
I'm a ginger, man. Okay, so where else do you go back? Oh, how about this? Well, I have maybe a question.
Go ahead.
You moved out from Chicago 9 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, go back to that. When you made that decision to come out here, do you agree with the decision?
Absolutely.
And what do you tell him to do when he gets here? This is good for people. I get this a lot when people travel around. And I'm sure you get this too. After the show, someone comes up and says, "I've always wanted to be a comedian. What do I do?" Mm-hmm. And the answer is always, just do it.
Get on stage.
Yeah,
I can't tell you anything else.
Yeah.
I don't have any like magic formula to tell you.
Be prepared to do poorly, but don't stop. If you really want to do it, get up there and just keep doing it.
Just keep doing it.
So I think it's an interesting question. So for people who are just like, I want to be a comedian, I want to move out to LA. And so what do you say to yourself, not necessarily to them?
Me, when I moved my soon to be ex-girlfriend time and our daughter. They moved up to Tacoma, Washington, because the plan was for them to go to Tacoma, where she's from originally, when I get situated here, to bring them down, to have everybody together.
Sorry, who is this?
My ex-girlfriend.
Okay, got it.
She's my daughter's mom.
Okay.
The plan was to bring them down. We broke up, so that didn't happen. But I had to remember to tell myself, I had just done Spike Lee's Chirac. That was about, I came out here, I timed my arrival to LA the week of Chirac's debut in theaters.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, everything's going to change, blah, 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 in the best way. If I could tell myself when he's moving out here, stay strong. It is not going to be what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought I'm in a major motion picture. I'm in Amazon's first original movie. I'm a main character in a movie. I'm gonna be good. I moved out here with $1,300. That was it. And I'm still here through the grace of God. But I thought there were so many times I was like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And I would have those, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. And I had to tell myself, there are going to be more ups than downs. But there are going to be downs. I would tell myself, be prepared, stay strong, be prepared for the unexpected. Because I think that's one of the things out here a lot of people don't plan for. Look, if you're watching this and you've been in the TV and film industry, like both of us have, there were strikes. Nobody expected the industry to shut down.
Or stay on strike for as long as it did.
Stay on strike as long as it did.
What are you guys doing?
I was on these picket lines daily.
Yeah.
Nobody expected for the potential for the IATSE strike, which more than likely is going to happen. But nobody expected streaming to mess up the industry. COVID.
Yeah.
None of these things. But you just got to stay strong. I did not leave when a lot of people just like, I'm going back home. I stayed in LA. I said, I'm going to stay. And through the grace of God, I stayed working. I was able to work. And I'm still working in like TV and film and stuff like that, and created my own internet show, a couple of them, and just, kept busy and kept productive. And so I would keep telling myself, stay strong through the downs and you know how to stay strong because you've been down before.
Right.
And also to tell myself, these downs are unexpected. And some of these downs are going to be downs you've never faced.
And it's like, we're building character here.
I've been homeless before. When I moved out, at one point I lost my car, funds and everything. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And a friend was helping put me, before I lost my car, matter of fact, helped put me in a hotel room. And I just didn't break. At no point was I like, I'm going back.
Right.
Even in the midst of that.
You kept working.
I kept working.
Okay. Yeah.
I was living out in my car, going and doing stand-up shows, still going to auditions. I booked a commercial while living in my car and just kept going.
How long were you in your car for?
About 2.5 months.
Okay.
But it was just, people started, I told a friend of mine finally, and he was like, why didn't you tell me?
That's insane. Yeah, okay.
He was like, why didn't you tell anybody? I was like, because I didn't want to.
Right.
I don't, even with the stuff, I deal with stuff now. And a lot of my friends are like, why don't you tell anybody? I was like, because I've always been self-reliant, and I don't want people to ever think I'm trying to lean on them. I know there are people that are always going to be open and willing to help without wanting anything else in return.
Right.
But it's just me. I lost a cruise gig I was supposed to do. I was supposed to leave on Friday. I was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. I was going to make enough money to cover bills for a while. And because I had been behind on stuff. But I found out I got double booked, and then they canceled the gig on me the Tuesday before my Netflix is a Joke show. So I had a mental breakdown in my house, a panic attack, but still had to get out and do everything I had to do that day. I still had to I had to record some stuff. I had meetings I had to have. I still had to be on stage every night getting prepared for that. So even though I was down, I still had to stay strong. Even though I'm still dealing with a few things, I still stay strong because I can't afford to break.
Yeah.
I've been through way too much to let something finally break me. So to tell myself when you come out here, listen, it's not going to be what you expect, but trust me, it's going to be worth it. Like you said, it's going to build character.
One time when I moved out here, so I moved out here in 1996 with my girlfriend from college. And we're out here, it's a grind. And she said, probably I'm out here like a year or two. And she's like, how long are you going to give this? Like my entertainment career. And I'm like, no, it's forever.
What I'm doing.
It's forever because every year you're out here, you're making a new contact, you're learning, you're building, And the other thing that, another piece of advice that somebody gave me, I had an online casting company, the first one. And it was 1998, I think I started it. And I had like a mentor, his name was Gary Marsh. He started Breakdown Services.
Oh, wow.
And he came in to my office. He would come in and just check on how things are going. And so mine turned into, it was supposed to be for actors, but it turned into an online database for for extras.
Okay.
And so there was no I wasn't competing to hit with him or whatever.
Right.
He was interested in it. And he came in, he's like, how's business? And I go, well, I mean, it's good. I got this, and I'm trying to overcome this. And then this guy just canceled, and he goes, oh, hold on. Let me try that again. And you're going to tell me business is good. He's like, how's business? I go, oh, man, it's good. I got this thing is developing over here. I got this. He goes, that's good. I like to hear that. People want to associate with somebody like that. And I was like, point made. It was a really interesting exercise, and of course, I'll never forget it. He's like, people don't want to – they like to help people, right? But and you think about this, especially out here, people like to help people that don't need help.
Yes.
People are going to help you if they see that you're already on the rise, and they can basically, whether it's subconscious or conscious, take some credit for the rise they already see you on.
Yes.
But if somebody sees like, oh, he's not doing well and whatever, they might help you out, but if they don't think you're gonna like make it, then everyone's gonna suddenly disappear.
Uh-huh.
And so like I think, and that's also like a guy thing too, where you keep your thing, your problems to yourself. But like, I get it, and I don't know if it's like the right thing to say, but I think that's good. I think it's good that you kept a good face as you're going through shit.
Oh, always. I think that's been the best thing. Like I said, my faith does that. Also, therapy has been the biggest thing.
Okay, great.
Therapy has been a very instrumental part of me, because between my psychodynamic therapy, my cognitive behavioral therapy, all these different tools, I've learned how to process things. Because for years, I would just bottle things up.
Right.
Just bottle them up until it came out, and it come out at the worst time. And
yeah.
Sorry about that.
And exploded. Yeah.
My bad. Didn't know that was going to happen. Oops. Sorry. Can we still be cool? But like now I know to like, even when I'm dealing with things, okay, it's a moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing I learned from wrestling. Wrestling is all about the moments.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about some matches, but we talk about the moments.
Mm-hmm.
When Hulk Hogan slammed Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
We saw that on TV, but he'd been doing that on house shows for months.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been slammed him. But we talk about the moment.
Right.
I have the moment, and I'm dealing with, okay, this is a sad moment.
Mm-hmm. We
saw the moment where Stephanie McMahon or Austin was crucified on TV. When Sting first comes down from the rafters, those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I had those moments in my life. I had the moment my kids were born.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I got my first TV gig. The moment I got my first movie gig. The moment I lost my place. The moment I lost my car.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just moments. But all these moments lead to the person who I am and who I'm continuing to be.
Mm-hmm. Continuing
to grow and evolve to be. And so that's why I'm always like, you know what? Good. How's things? I'm here. I'm present.
My life consists of collecting moments.
Yeah. Everybody's
collecting memories, collecting moments.
Collecting memories and moments.
Yeah.
Everyone will ask me, yo, how are you doing? I'm present.
Mm-hmm.
I'm present and enjoying it.
Do you feel that if you look back at your life and you have any regrets, was it more about things that you did or things that you didn't do?
I thought about that a little while ago, honestly. Thought about that about a week ago. It's neither, and here's why. All those things that I did do, things that I didn't do, got me to here.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I said I didn't do was start stand-up sooner.
I say the same thing.
It's the only thing I said I didn't do.
Okay. So it is probably more I didn't do.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I think really that just that, because wrestling, everything happened with it. And if it was not for professional wrestling, just starting out in that, I don't know if the person who's able to take the stage confidently every time, no matter what, exists.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's been through these crowds where it's little people, no people, people who love him, people who hate him, people who don't care about him.
Mm-hmm.
To go up to these stages where it's people who have no idea who he is, where he's just had to follow a legend crushing.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, all right, well, that was them. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep this moving.
You another one, I don't know if this is a cliche, but like you don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures. You don't learn when you're up. You learn when you're down.
You learn where you're down. You find out who you are.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Find out who you are.
That's right.
So you test your mettle. You find out exactly who you are and where are you made. How do you handle these situations?
Mm-hmm.
Do you break? Look, you always said it. You said earlier. It's a lot of guy things we do. We hold stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of guys forget that sometimes we can have our breakdown moments in private.
Sure.
But once we have it in private, we got to go back in public. Great. All right, we got that out. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the road. I'm doing 130 shows a year. And, I just tell my wife, I go, if one of the cat dies, just don't tell me till I get home, please. Because I don't want to walk on stage. I had this. I had my dog. I had an Irish Wolfhound. A lot of people know my dog. I had him for 10 years. Okay. And he was, at his biggest, he was like 185 pounds, 6'4", the gentlest, most beautiful thing. And he'd walk in, I mean, like, he could... If you had hamburgers on the counter. The counter is higher than this. He could eat them off the counter. He was one of the biggest dogs in the world, and he died suddenly. And I had a show the next day, and I was like, I canceled that show. And then I had a show the day, so like 2 days later, I'm like, okay, I'm through it, and I'm getting ready to go on stage, and some guy, I'm literally in the corner about being introduced, and some guy comes up, he's like, hey, Nancy, I just want you to let you know I'm sorry about your dog. I'm like,
no,
thanks, buddy. Bro, just like, but you have to do. Nope, I'm out. Let's go. Pull it back together.
My mom passed in 2007 when I was working in my job at the time, and when she was the middle of the week, and I remember that because that weekend I had 3 wrestling shows. I wasn't doing stand up at the time, and it was once everybody put out that my mom passed, everybody was like, "Yo, if you need to cancel, we good. You can cancel shows." I said no. I said, by Saturday, I'm okay. I'm still be sad as my mom.
Sure.
But I need to do this. We get to the venue. We're in the back. Guys get working out the matches, all the stuff. One of the buddies walked up, hey, it's going to be okay, man. We know you want. I said, appreciate it. Keep in mind, I'm supposed to be a bad guy, too. Supposed to be a bad guy. So now, the bad guy has puffy eyes because he's been crying. He's been fighting tears.
Yeah.
Because now he's got to remember this match. He's got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, come on, man, just tell me after I'm done.
Yeah.
Tell me when we at the bar.
Yeah.
After the show, because most of the time,
or honestly, don't.
Just
yeah.
Don't do it. You can just give me a hug, a brief hug. Don't do that one that hold embrace the hug. Because
let go right away.
Let go right away because you already know what's somebody there.
Because otherwise I'm gonna hold on. Yeah.
When they do that deep side, you're like, I don't need you to side for me because you go side, I'm a side, then I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
It's not at all. Everybody's been through that moment. You're like, do not do this.
Yeah.
And I understand the sentiment of why. I understand. I know humans and people are they're trying to be good and natured.
Yeah.
Hey, I care. I'm here for you. Why? Can you be here for me in about an hour?
The same thing. I used to do Q&A before my shows for VIP. I don't. Now I do these drinking games, and it's so much more fun. But when I was doing Q&A, I probably did it for like 100 and like so. Since COVID, I've done 386 shows at breweries, and so I think for maybe the first 150, I was doing Q&A, and I thought it was going to be great. And I thought it would help me like learn about topics that I could cover in my stand-up. Someone asked me, "Oh, I love this when this happened. What was your take?" And I'm like, "Oh, enough people asked me about that. Yeah. I'm gonna turn that into a bit." And it kind of worked. But let me tell you something: you can't ride this inconsistency of people. And so one guy said, "I just want to let you know that I'm sorry that you're." He's like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know, like, sorry your dad died." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." Like in front of like 150 people. And he goes, "But you got that new dog, right?" And I go, "Nope, you had to let that dog go. Anything else? You want to ask me about how my dad died or whatever?" And by the way, this is in Syracuse, and my mom is over there laughing. We have a sense of humor about it. He died when he was my age, 52. And so, like, it's just kind of like, all right, you want to ask me about my dead dad too? Like, whatever. And everyone laughed. And then that guy came up. He's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, no. It's completely fine. You didn't do anything wrong. You had best of intentions. I had to make a joke of that.
To make it up,
Yeah, we had to keep the room. Otherwise, not just me, the whole room just goes, So we had to keep it like whatever. So he was at my show like last week. The guy who asked me that question.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm that guy." I'm like, "Dude, that was amazing." Because I put it up as a clip. And
nice.
It's fine. He was fine with it. But like, again, people, they just don't know. A lot of times too, for comedians, people think you're just going up there and talking. They don't realize, that like sometimes you're up there, especially when you're getting close to like a special date or something like that. Like you are on a script.
It's everything.
Everything is there,
man. Yeah. Everything is planned out. It's timed. It's damn near meticulously done. But I think that's one thing with social media now too, because now
the crowd work thing.
Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, some people are great at it. Some people are good, but I think because it's nothing but a consistency eclipse of crowd work.
Yeah.
now people are just like, oh, you're waiting for me to interject something. Like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm really good on this.
Yeah.
I just need a regular laugh, ha ha. If I ask you a question, maybe.
There you go.
If not.
Yeah.
Well, can we keep this rolling?
Yeah.
How do you feel about crowd work?
I do it. I think, okay, so one of the things about crowd work and why it's worked on social media is because a comedian, there's some people that are doing, like, I change my set every year, right? So I go through, I record it as a special, and then I start to phase it out, and by 4 months after my special, it's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And now I'm working on my new stuff. And so I don't want to put my old stuff up because it's up, but I don't want to put my new stuff up. Like, every night I'm getting clips, but I don't want to put my new stuff up because people that come to my show are going to see that. It's a stupid thing, which maybe I got to let go of. But the crowd work is inconsistent. And every now and then, you get this little gem. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you saw the one of Matt Rife and the guy in the wheelchair.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's amazing. It's amazing because it's a guy in a wheelchair who's there. And he's like, hey, man, you're the wheelchair. Like, thanks for coming out tonight. And it's like, here's a guy, like, who just showed up on his own free will. He's like, actually, I don't know. Someone could have wheeled you here against your will. And he is going, and the guy in the wheelchair is dying and, like, laughing. He's not. Sorry, so he didn't actually die. And then he's just kind of laying into it. And you know, as a comedian, you know that he has done this with people in wheelchairs that have showed up. Yeah. So by the time the thing that showed, now that we're talking about it, it'll pop up in your feed.
But because our phones definitely listen.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because I had this, I had a discussion years ago, I think around my second, third year of stand-up with Tommy Davidson from Color. He was talking about how there's certain things he knows that'll happen with certain interactions. Right. You have it already locked and loaded to deal with. Right. He was like, I'm telling you, watch every show, this one thing is going to happen. And somebody's going to say something to this nature. I'm going to be able to go with this, and he'll go with this. He'll have the pattern. And I was like, huh? And I just started noticing that. And so you have those like pre-lock and loaded responses ready. And so I don't mind crowd. Like I said, I'm with you. Somebody told me this, and I remember it was like, you can put a clip up. You do realize everyone has not seen that clip. Right. It's like,
I didn't think you were going to go that direction. You're right.
It's like, you think, because I was like, I don't know if I want to put, I was like, I don't know if I want to put bits up. He's like, everybody's not going to see that. Yeah. And then even still, some people will come see you and want to see that bit. Yeah. My friend Leslie Leal, she's blown up recently, and we've done shows at the Improv, and then there were people in the crowd, I'll never forget, who wanted to see her do a specific bit from a clip she posted. And she was like, wow. We both were like
a song.
It's like a song because we're always told as comics, you know, we don't get the benefit. We're told we don't get the benefit of the doubt like musicians do to play the greatest hits. Right. Like if I've seen you, I don't want to see the same stuff. I want to see something new. Yeah. So it's like to hear somebody say, "No, I specifically want to hear that bit." It's like, okay, like we said earlier, comedy is forever changing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's kind of you saying it like that. In those terms, it makes me realize I shoot my shows every night. I have 200 shows. I can go through and I gotta find some stuff, and I got some stuff that's working right now. Some short little jokes, that are perfect. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna save those. No, come on, man. Just so all right,
because that's what I'm doing now. I'm taking because I love to host. I love to host too. So I can headline easily. I've been fortunate enough to be able to have that time to be on the road to do it, but I love to host. I love to facilitate the show. That's my energy. So I love to be able to start out the show, have the things happen, have these little gems that happen, and then try to get that video like, hey, I need that because I know I'll never recreate it. And that moment was right. Let me put that moment out. And so I've had those moments. So
I'm having a moment right now.
What, with Potato?
No, with you.
Oh yeah, this is a great moment. That one felt like you looked at Potato.
Dude, this was amazing. I thank you for going there with me. Sometimes it's difficult to get guests to open up. I think we had a really good conversation.
Dude, I think
that I think people are going to take something away from.
I hope so, man. I love it. I tell people now, I've gotten to the point where I want to just be an open book. You're going to see me. If you see me on stage, you see me in person, you see me on the air, you're going to see what you see. Yeah. But if you want to know who I am, why not just, let's pull this curtain back.
And if people follow you on your social, everything's happened there. What's your Instagram?
Mr. J Washington, FRJAY. People should know I spell Washington. You'd be surprised. People don't know how to spell Washington.
Let's not spell it.
No, I have to sometimes. Steve.
Let's weed them out.
Yeah, I've had to do it. Like, how do you spell WASH? I.
Oh, I. Okay, not A. I noticed that.
It's just
T-A.
No, there's a G. You like
T-A-N.
so the damn dollar. Like, yeah, Mr. J. Washington.
Okay, Mr. J. Washington. Follow him online. Don't follow him in person. Follow him in person. You can keep up. You win. If you can catch him, follow him in person. If you catch him, you win.
If you can, man, if he don't knock you out unconscious, I'm telling you the truth right now.
That's it. All right, I'm going to give you a cat as a parting gift.
Wow, thank you.